participants. I'm Swati Saini, part of the Digital India Dialogues team, and delighted to be anchoring today's session of the Digital India Dialogue series. This series is a collaborative initiative supported by National E-Governance Division, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, United Nations Development Programme, and Intel India. To set the context of today's session, may I please invite Mr. Satya Narayan Meena, who's an IRSSE officer of 2000 batch. He's presently working as Director Finance and Capacity Building, National E-Governance Division, Ministry of Electronics and IT. Sir, you're an IIT alumnus having an experience of 20 plus years in government, PSU and ministries, wherein you handle various major infra, transport projects, IT projects and schemes. You have also worked as Senior Director in Khelo India Ministry of Sports. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Swati. And good. It's with a great pleasure. We welcome all for today's session of Digital India Dialogues on a very important topic: data-driven action and assessment of action, with all eminent speakers from industry and governments. The Digital India Dialogues is envisioned and conceptualized under the dynamic leadership of our President and CEO, Sri Abhishek Singh Sir, have been designed to empower government officials from various sectors by building technology-led expertise through an immersive workshop. Here, experts demonstrate practical applications of technologies with the help of relevant use cases and scalable solutions using industry expertise and ecosystem partner. The objective of today's Digital India Dialogue session is to discuss and showcase how to draw actionable insights from data and present information in a way that make the maximum impact on target audience. And I'm proudly announcing today's eminent speaker for today's sessions are Dr. Neeta Verma, Director General, National Information Center, Informatics Center, with over 3.5 decade experience in government of India at various levels. She has been instrumental implementing high impact digital initiative across the country, especially development of digital services and platforms for various initiatives of government. Ma'am, we are so glad to have you with us on today's platform. And Ms. Ramadevi Lanka, OSD from Government of Telangana and part of various initiatives in states. And she needs no introduction. Rama ma'am has and continues to play a key role in the formulation and execution of various policy framework that create a conducive ecosystem for the growth of emerging technology in Telangana state and sectors. And I'm also very happy to introduce Mr. Satya Srinivas, Vice President, APAC Region, Scalable Technology. Mr. Satya brings background and technology and digital developments designed to disrupt traditional operating models in banking and insurance domains. So now, without taking much time, I once again thank you all for the joining today and hope that today's session will be beneficial for all of you. Thank you. Over to you, Swati.
Thank you very much, sir. And now I would like to invite Dr. Neeta Verma, Director General, National Informatics Center. With a career spanning over 3.5 decades, she's been instrumental in implementing high-impact digital initiatives across the country. In her current role, she's spearheading the development of digital services and platforms for various initiatives of the Government of India. Ma'am, you have also been an active proponent of technologies for enhanced citizen experience at various levels of government. It was under your leadership that NIC launched the Open Data Platform to release government data in open for public good. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you everyone. And good morning, everyone connected online. It's indeed a pleasure. Data has always been one of the subjects I'm very passionate about it. See, though suddenly data has got a lot of significance, we all have been talking about, but many of you who are of my age will recollect that data was always at the core of governance. When we had these initial mainframes, I'm talking about 3.5 decades, you have these data processing units in the departments, you have data entry. In fact, the first set of people whom we recruited were data entry operators who used to help, converting this data from paper and from those long survey forms to mainframes and then chunked and process this data. So data has been there. At that time, data was essentially being collected to either surveys or various kind of census programs which government had. And this was used for primarily for statistical analysis and long-term planning. If you remember that time we had today Niti Aayog was that time planning commission, and one of the important activity they had was draw out this 5-year plans, and there has to be a lot of data related activity around this 5 years plan, and then kind of projections and forecasting and things. So we've been using data at that time. As we moved further, but this was always from a perspective, surveys will take an year and the data will be getting processed and then results will come maybe a following year. But as the computers, as we moved, the capacity of computers increased, and at the same time, the networking became a mainstay, and we could connect these computers and we could push and transfer data from one location to other location. I still remember, when we had first put in this country's first satellite-based VSAT network, and when our colleagues used to go to those remote districts, and from there get the first chunk of one small data file, we all used to be thrilled that we could directly get data almost in real time from some remote district of India to this place. So those were the times how things have moved. And then, came this whole trend of MIS, Management Information Systems, MIS reports. So reporting became a mainstay, and those bundles of reports kind of were generated on various and that analysis used to be interesting. And I still remember, people asking, can you take out this kind of a report? I mean, which looked almost impossible, but with the kind of computer and databases, it becomes far more convenient. Then we all moved to those so-called decision support systems where you could do what-if analysis and all. But in all these while, if you look at it, it was all happening from some log. It was not something which I need immediate. It is something maybe at the end of the year, some analysis is happening, some quarter analysis is happening, and things were, but kind of, all oriented or revolving around all those things. But under Digital India program, there has been a paradigm shift as far as, among other things, as far as the activity or the processing around, or the narrative around data has actually gone many notches higher. Reason being, we have really seen proliferation of mobile network in the country now. It connects almost a whole of a country from to its remotest corner. We have also seen broadband network penetrated in a big way with 700. I have now lost track of number. I think it was 700 million. Maybe now we are close to 800 million smartphone users and the equal number of broadband users. Suddenly all that activity we are doing in government, and that is true with the corporate also. Those services which are now being offered directly to the consumer on their citizens on their mobiles or on their devices in their homes, which is connected through broadband and many other kind of network. So as a result, that the kind of data being captured and the amount of data being captured has really grown manifold. You are in real time capturing data from your last mile beneficiary or citizen. You are allowing him to apply for his whatever service he or she is looking for, that is a plane certificate or any subsidy, or applying for admission to a higher college India. You are applying for a visa for that matter, or passport. They're able to do all those things right at those. And these, and when I'm saying they could be really situated, these households could be even the far-flung areas of India, districts actually. In NIC, as we had a presence, even today we have presence in every district of India. That time, reaching this district, as I was telling you, shifting a small amount of data used to be giving such an enthusiasm to a thrill to everybody. Now from that district, we have moved to block, and in fact, in some places, we are capturing data at the village panchayat level. And sometimes it is even coming from the individuals, from their mobile. So the granularity of data which we are able to get has really grown many, many times, and which opens up altogether new kinds of applications, new kind of analysis which was not possible. You can now get to each beneficiary and get the details in terms of not only getting what is the kind of demographic profile you have, they have what kind of benefits are suited for them, and therefore today governments are talking about proactive delivery of benefits. I mean, why is that citizens should ask? Once we have citizens information, we have his socio-economic profile, we can decide that this scheme, under this scheme, citizens should get benefit. Why at all he needs to or she needs to apply? We've been able to get all those things because we've been now able to capture data from that of that level of granularity. Another thing which has happened is with this, IoT and kind of devices, that the speed at which data is getting, or all those, cameras being put at various traffic signals, and so data is being captured almost in real time. And as data is being captured in real time, there are new kind of applications are coming where we need to really process and act basis the input from this data also in real time. Traffic management signals is a classic example where you really need to route and reroute and adjust those signal timings as the dynamics of traffic moves on the road. And we have seen it's happening in real time in many places. Some of our newly established smart cities in India have also implemented those models. Similarly, disaster management is a classic example, where you see basis. I mean, disaster is something you predict that, okay, this is how the flow of storm will be, or this is how the flow of wind. But on the ground, when it actually happens, it can always change. It's a nature's phenomena. You can only apply technology to a certain extent to do prediction. But how do you respond to those kind of disasters in real time? Data plays a very, very major role. And that I mean, we're very proud that now we've been able to handle these disasters in a far better way than what we were doing this thing. And at the back of it, somewhere, data is playing, among other things, data is also playing an important role. COVID-19 is another classic example, this pandemic, which has given us unprecedented situations, which perhaps, I mean, even people at our age had never seen in our lifetime. Many of you are much younger. So you look at the kind of data it used. You look at Arogya Setu application. It was a contact tracing application where in real time, as you move, it was telling, I mean, what kind of people you are coming in contact, and what is the possibility or possibility of you having a COVID infection, and also alerting if you have come across somebody who is COVID positive, or you have come across somebody today who has become COVID positive after 5 days, and then kind of predicting your score. So not only data was being captured, geo processing was happening. Over and above, it was being analyzed, and using those AI/ML algorithms, it was finally predicting what is the kind of possibility or score you have as far as connection. So that real time processing of data is something which is now becoming, should not say norm, but it's coming in the wish list of many programs and projects. Use of data for program management of program, or I should say, the schemes implementation has something we have seen very extensive in the Digital India program. Today being in NIC, I think almost all the all the programs which government has launched, flagship programs, NIC has been their partner in terms of building digital platforms, whether it was a PDS system, whether it is Swachh Bharat, whether it is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So all I'm saying is, in these programs, moment the program is conceived, first thing is they call people from IT, these things, and where NEGD also plays a role. So the first thing is, IT system is at the core of it. Right from formulation of the scheme, what kind of benefits, what kind of the detailing of that benefits, which category, what is for smaller, what is for bigger states, all that planning also happens using digital platform, and data analysis is at the back of it. And when the program is rolled out, and finally when it's happening on the ground, the basis, the feedback or the data input which you are getting from these individuals, that also plays an important role in terms of monitoring the program. And if you have the ability to process this data in real time, you've been able to take even mid-course corrections. I mean, earlier, one policy is one form, it will, after few years, it be assessed, and then you kind of think of making any change. But today, the kind of platforms we have, the changes could be made almost in real time, or I mean, maybe every quarter you can change your contours, and you could see that why is this scheme happening so well in X state and it is not happening that well in next state. You can do what if analysis and maybe take corrective measures to make sure that the scheme is. It is very important, why? Because if you look at the flagship program of the government, it has budgets of lakhs of crores of rupees, and it is touching millions of people. Sometimes a small correction can really make impact on people's lives. So that's the kind of scale we all work in government, and therefore it is very important that we make judicious use of these data analysis technologies and techniques to be able to really give this kind of input to the systems while it's as much real time as is possible. Uh, Going forward, and so now the point is, and data analysis, if you look at it, how do you, I mean, this is happening at some places, but how do you make these things happening in government at a widespread, wide scale? I mean, not only central government departments, state government, district, we need these kinds of things to be happening in every. Data should be at the core of planning, at the core of decision making, at the core of action, at every stage of governance. So we really need to make that happen. We really need to democratize this whole thing. So how do we really do it? First of all, I mean, the data analytics is not something which is the domain of IT people. IT people just happen. It needs a very multidisciplinary kind of a team. You need domain people, you need IT people, and then you need people from data science or people from economics and from the public policy. Only when these people, because doing analysis is, but what is the right kind of analysis you do? It's important when this kind of people sit together and then kind of and kind of make a plan that this is how we need to assess or analyze this. So you really need a disciplinary team to be in place, and then you also need to build capacity in your existing IT teams to be able to understand and transform their systems into this new requirement. Therefore, to support these things, way back, I think in 2018, I believe, we had set up in partnership with our company called Nixie, a Center of Excellence on Data Analytics. They have been primarily focusing on data analytics and helping government departments wherever needed in performing this data analysis related assignments around various programs and all. Also, to make because when you have large amount of data, you will also need a lot of processing power or computing power. You need a lot of storage. You need high speed bandwidth for data transfers. And that is where, this cloud computing has really played an important role. And that is another reason that why today data analytics is becoming so much talked about, is because with cloud computing so readily available in the country, it is now possible to do these kind of data analysis and algorithms at a very cost effective measure, which was earlier not possible because these large supercomputers and all were accessible to only few people, either academic institutes or large corporates. But with cloud computing and pay as you use kind of a model, it has really made it affordable for everyone. And therefore you see today all these recommendation engines and all those which you see in all those mobile apps you use, all of them have a huge data analysis happening at the back. And encouraged by this, we run this Meghraj, which is a national cloud for government. There also now we have made this data analytics as a service available, so that departments do not have to really bother how do they particular data analysis tool they use, how do they really connect their tool to this data. Is you have this as a service. As long as you have a database, you connect to this tool, and then you simply have to decide what kind of analysis I need to perform. I mean, whether it's a prescriptive analysis or it's a descriptive analysis, whatever. I mean, that is something I said that multidisciplinary team has to be done. But having said, I think we still need to do a lot of capacity building program, and I think therefore this initiative which NEGD has taken is very, very important. I think is going to play a very important role in terms of making people aware the significance of data analytics and what it means when we are talking about data analytics and how can one go about doing it. So I really like to compliment NEGD for this wonderful initiative. In the core of this, I mean, you might have seen when you see data analytics, the one thing which is very critical is the quality of data. The quality, unless your quality of data is good, your whole analysis, even the best of the best analytics may not give you the right kind of insight which you are looking for. And data analytics, I feel the people who are developing IT systems, while the sensitization has to be there at the government departments level also, so that they also focus on collecting the right kind of data. But I think as developers or designers of IT system, we can also play a very important role in terms of ensuring that we get right kind of data. I mean, what I normally say is, anytime you're designing an input form, look at it that try and verify every field as far as possible right when you're collecting the information. Do not just, whether you're taking an Aadhaar number, you're taking a mobile, you're taking an email, or you're taking things like geolocations. All of these are today verifiable things. You have online systems to verify. You can verify through sending OTPs or sending a call to Aadhaar system and kind of get verification from there, so that you are sure that whatever data as much as collected is an authentic data. At the same time, try and collect data once. I mean, the more you will ask data, the more the probability is there'll be inconsistency into data. People will not take it so seriously. They'll write address like this here. They'll write address at one place. Why do all those things? When person is giving you Aadhaar, you have his address, you have his details in one system that we should be able to use, and not ask. As many times I have asked within the same system also, if there are 4 forms, we are asking that information again. So those things also, we as designers of IT systems can play a very important role in terms of improving the quality of data. And now with kind of AI and all these algorithms, even they can be applied while you get this data in terms of, if you see people who do surveys and all have this hot frequency checks, wherein they kind of, at the end of the day, they'll correlate all these data and see if there is any inconsistency coming, if there are any numbers which are outliers, and many other. I mean, this is a field of data science on its own, that how do you get it. But data quality is another thing which, so what I'm trying to say is that even if today you have no plan of doing any analysis of this, still make sure the data which you are collecting is of high quality, because today it may not be there, but tomorrow there's a requirement. But you cannot go back and collect the data. Data collection is a very, very expensive exercise, and therefore you should put in all effort to get the best quality out of data. And the better is the quality of your data, the more significant outcome you will be able to get from whatever analysis you will perform. So these were the 3-4 things which I think one should really make sure. And not only in our cloud, this data analytics as a service is available on public clouds also. You have all kinds of algorithms available on public clouds. Mighty has empaneled these clouds. Even there, these services are available. And one can make use of these services to quickly implement these kind of requirements wherever needed. One more thing, data really become powerful, analysis powerful, if we are able to connect the data systems together. These data systems or this data could have been collected through different IT systems within the same department, or this could have been collected through IT systems of department. But finally, if you're doing analysis, like I'll give you example, we do this integrated criminal justice system. In this, we have connected 6 different pillars of the criminal justice system. On one side, you have complete judicial system, which means 20,000 court complexes in the country where all cases are being filed and processed and everything is being there. You have police FIR, police stations who are collecting their data. You have prisons where information about criminals is there. Then you have forensics, prosecution, and then you have investigation. These 6, 7 are different departments and are big institutions in themselves. But we have been able to finally connect IT systems of all of them together and bring a common integrated criminal justice where if you look for any criminals, any ID, you can get his full longitudinal record, what all kind of crimes he have performed, with whom all he has performed the crime, which all prisons he have been lodged, and which all police station his FIR was registered. So you can kind of get a complete profiling of a criminal, and that really helps you, do a prevention of crime as you go further. And not only that, with this recently you must have said Supreme Court gave an order that whenever you have whenever Supreme Court, not Supreme Court rather, any court, when it gives a bail, the moment it gives a bail, the person has to be released from the jail. But often it was seen for this bail to reach the police station used to take significant amount of. There could be many reasons for this. So court says that why is that we cannot do this reaching electronically to the respective prison where the person is connected. So you not only needed to connect these 2-3 systems in terms of network, you also needed to connect these IT systems where the one could really connect the prisoner with the case, with the prison, and with the court. So all I'm trying to say is that when you connect these systems together, you get a different order of power. You can generate a different order of insight. And therefore, what is important today is that when you build any IT system today, you may think that I don't need any of the data, but it's just a matter of time. Tomorrow's application may require this. But systems you design at one point and then they last for a few years, you should have this provision of plugins or APIs available to system where you can pull data from any system and you are able to push data to other systems so that your system can talk to the existing ecosystem at any point in time. And often I have seen when I talk to department, the problem is their initial scope of work. Now they have to change scope of work for getting those 4 APIs or 5 APIs or whatever has to be done. So, our Ministry of Electronics already has an open API policy, which says that every IT system we develop should have open APIs published, through which, obviously, we are not saying that if it's an API, anybody can consume data. Your IT system has to be ready. Now, whether to share data, not to share, is a matter of contract between the 2 departments or understanding between the 2 departments. That's a different point. But your technical readiness is very important in today's world, and I think that should be kind of a mandate which every IT system should be ready. When will you use it? How will we use it? That government departments will decide. That the situation at that time will decide. And therefore, to help these departments, we have set up a national API exchange. So what does National API Exchange does? Any 2 departments, if they want to interact data with each other, they can come to this National API Exchange. They can sign a digital smart contract among themselves, and then this data could be shared between the 2. API Exchange not shows that the terms and conditions under which you are sharing data is complied with. It also gives you visibility in case there is any kind of deviation from these contracts is happening, or the overall exchange of data, how it is going, that gives you that information also. This API exchange departments are using, and I will really request more and more departments to make use of this. Another important thing is also make sure, because a lot of risk as far as cyber security is concerned. Data which is also a risk. So if the two systems connect themselves, those kind of issues sometimes might come because of lack of another team, or they have missed few points. But when you go through this API exchange kind of a thing, all of those things get fully verified and they are settled before you start exchanging. So you could be really at peace that whatever data I'm exchanging, this is being only accessed by the person or by a department whom I have authorized. Nobody else is able to get it. So that's the purpose of having this kind of API exchanges. Let me give you another example which we had recently done for government, which is Prayas. Prayas was a classic example where 145 flagship programs of Government of India are being monitored on a common platform through their predefined key performance indicators. And this includes almost every program of Government of India. 145 is a huge number. But the most important and the beautiful part of this Prayas was that there was no physical or mechanical manual data entry into the system. All these 145 schemes were sharing data on a real time through API basis. So wherever the schemes did not have APIs, we helped them develop APIs. But this was the first pre-qualifier that you have to connect. And that is the reason that once you connect, data keeps flowing. Then a lot of intelligence has been built into it, making sure the data quality remains. And but the best part is that 145 schemes. So today, in any Apex office can see the performance of 145 programs over the last 5 years against the indicators which they have. And then it has that geographic analysis, it has those time series analysis, and it that kind of analysis is advancing as we are progressing. But the basic ecosystem is already in place that I mean, I don't know how much you're able to appreciate, but if I remember maybe 15 years ago or maybe even 10 years ago, I used to be part of meetings where getting two departments exchange data among themselves was a real nightmarish activity. It will take meetings after meetings at a senior level, and I'm sure some people in this forum will also agree with me. Used to be a real nightmare. Used to use all kinds of pressures takes to be able to kind of exchange data among these things, and then having this kind of a seamless exchange once for all was, I think, a dream come true at that point. But it really gives a lot of satisfaction to us. And I mean, we only provide technology and platform, but it is what it actually shows that departments have also started understanding the significance of data. Everybody understands that there is a need of sharing data. They also need to get some, and they have started understanding what kind of empowerment they get when they're able to share data, and the kind of picture, the kind of they get from it. It really helps them in decision making, in making new policies and so on and so forth, and monitoring their policies. So I think as a country, or as a government also, we are doing pretty good, but we need to really go further, do a lot of capacity building, which I think initiative like this is doing. We need to really provide more and more these cloud-based services so that people do not have to understand or really apply their mind or do an RFP or choosing one tool over the other tool. All that we should not really. We should free them from all those things. Another important area, I know, where we have tried using data analytics is the fraud analytics. You know, when you have these large programs working in where lakhs and crores of subsidies is being distributed to millions of people, and where they are applying online. And obviously, if you have any IT system there, people will try to breach that system. There'll be ghost applications, there'll be ghost identities. I mean, that's natural, which happens, which was happening manually, it will happen there. So in these IT systems, when you're putting in, how can you put these checks and balances through which you are able to analyze this kind of anomalous behaviors or duplicate applications or all kinds of other efforts and prevent them from going further? So how do you prevent fraud using analytics is a very classic example. We have already applied it into our national scholarship portal, which distributes scholarships to over 1.3, 1.4 crore children every year. These children come from class 1 to even higher education. So you see the kind of spectrum this portal handles, and that is the kind of system we are now implementing in our public distribution system. It's a large system, a large set of beneficiaries involved, and large set of subsidies involved. Putting in these kind of analytics almost into real time can help lot of frauds from happening. I mean, post investigation is one part, but there's no fun into it. But if you could really prevent from happening, if you could detect the fraud before it actually happens, that is where the crux of the matter is. And I think analytics can do this thing. Cyber security, when we talk of digital, the cyber safety of the citizens is one of the major concern, when you're trying to empower people, especially when you're going to the people at the bottom of pyramid, you're transferring payments through digital mode. You really want them to be transacting safely. You really want them to be into a place where you want to protect them from all those kind of breaches, And that is where, again, cyber security is another area where analytics and AI ML can play a very important role, because what you essentially do is whatever transactions are happening, you are basically analyzing them. And again, the need is to analyze them in real time so that you can take corrective measures, or you can create alerts almost in real time. And then only you'll be able to prevent any kind of a breach or fraud happening. So very interesting applications. I can go on and on, but these were just example to give you an highlight. Just to close, I would like to say that data, the potential of data is very well understood by government functionaries and by IT teams at the same time. And over the time, if you look back and see what we have achieved, these dashboards which give you a snapshot or of an overview of what is happening in that IT systems is now kind of becoming default. I mean, if you talk of an IT system, say where is your dashboard? So by and large, people will have, any good IT system will have dashboard which is showing you status or activity in real time. But I think now the kind of capacity we have available in terms of cloud computing and such high-speed networks, it will really make sense if we move beyond dashboards now, I think. And all of us have to consciously promote this concept, is that we need to go beyond dashboard. Dashboards are good to be shown to the senior people to see how is this whole program performing, and how is it performing the various geographies. It serves a purpose. It serves a limited purpose. But we should move towards doing much more advanced level of analytics. We have algorithms available, we have infrastructure available, and we have good data science experts available in the country. So ecosystem is pretty ready, and we should really leverage that and make sure that how do we really generate insights from this data. See, some of the IT systems are in operation for last 10 years, and we'll have data for last 10 years, some maybe 15 to 20 years. How do you really leverage this data and generate insights which are, as in the beginning one of you was saying, as generate truly actionable insights directly to the management, to the political masters, to the secretaries and bureaucrats? How do we give this information and develop a system to be doing this on a real-time basis? That is where I think we should all progress, and we should all try and take all e-governance initiatives or digital government initiatives beyond dashboards to that actionable or intelligent insights from the data we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for that. Can I take two questions? Although there are quite a lot of questions coming in, but I'll just take two top questions here. One of them is, how can I ensure that the data insights are accurate? Okay, I'll read this out. How can I ensure that confidence of data insights are accurate and will give a positive response on the real-time basis?
Yeah. So see, this is a whole data science domain itself, and that is the reason it is very important that this kind of a data science activity is not all performed by IT teams alone. It needs IT teams, it needs data science specialists, and most important, it needs domain people. It needs public policy people. This is put forth together. You will be able, and anytime you do any data science model, it goes through a complete cycle of its testing. It is a multi-stage verification of that algorithm before you really put into it. So you have to go through this, and how effective this is, you have to basically do the check back with this. And that is where you will have these people from domain side and from public policy side who are going to basically validate whatever is the output. And therefore, which is in any AI this thing, and therefore AI initiatives take a slightly longer cycle than a plain IT initiative, because you have to make system learn and you have to validate that output, and sometimes they are corrective. If you look at deep learning kind of a thing, they're corrective measures. Your system gives some output, then you kind of go back and correct, and you see what are the, if there is any bias, if there's any understanding issue, you correct your algorithm, you again see the output. There's an iterative process before the system. Therefore, when we have a center of excellence of AI, so when I tell them, so they begin from 97% accuracy, and I tell them, don't be happy with 97, because 97 to 100, it will take you, maybe 99 to 100 will take you much more time, which it has taken from 0 to 99%. So the final increment, so that I completely agree. That has to be done. That has to be done thoroughly, and we have to be careful, because if we don't do and don't generate insight which is correct, it has an adverse impact also. And therefore, those people who have years of domain experience will play a significant role in validating our algorithms.
Ma'am, I'll take up one more question, which is very much to what you are explaining right now. What is more important, quality of data or quantity of data in real time, with formulating with the AHT, which is average handling time? Is NCRM can be evaluated on that with CMS?
What is MCRM?
If you could please elaborate on the full forms. Otherwise, ma'am, what I understand is they are trying to understand the quality of data versus quantity of data in the real time average handling.
Okay. Now, see, quantity of data is important as we are moving now from machine learning to deep learning, and you must have seen many AI master statements saying that now we don't need that huge a data set as we were needing maybe some time ago, when we were simply resorting to machine learning algorithms. So that way, the amount of data when you go to these algorithms is perhaps needed is less, but it is still not, there's still a threshold that much data is needed to train. But among all those things, data quality is an equally important thing, but lot of data quality can be addressed by IT algorithms themselves. So I should say both are important. Of course, the new set of algorithms are reducing the quantity of data which was needed few years earlier. It has come, but quality definitely remains a paramount this thing, and we should not have any compromise on that. Another thing, quality cannot be done manually, is not a manual exercise. Quality has to be fixed right at the source, and I strongly believe that today you can get very high quality data if you put your input mechanisms right.
Right. Thanks a lot, ma'am. We thanks a lot. We thank you very much. The insightful examples that you have shared with us today. We have really learned a lot, and once again appreciate your time and your all that you've shared with us. So with that, I am going to move on to our next session, where we are going to learn about the data-backed evidence, how that can enable designing and implementing of effective policies, programs, and processes. And to talk about it, I'm honored to invite our distinguished speaker today, Ms. Rama Devi Lanka, ma'am, who leads the Emerging Technologies Wing of the Information Technologies, Electronics, and Communication Department of Government of Telangana. Ma'am, your role is to formulate and execute policy frameworks that would create a conducive ecosystem for the growth of emerging technologies in Telangana, build institutions of excellence, and assist the government in leveraging these technologies for better governance and in improving the service delivery to citizens. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. Actually, I'm appearing twice on the screen. Is it why? Any reason, or is it okay?
It's okay, ma'am. We can see you only on the screen. That's fine.
All right, all right. Thank you. Yeah, good morning, everyone. And I thank NEGD for giving me this opportunity to share our experiences from Telangana. And there was a fantastic talk by Neetu ma'am, Director General NIC. She gave a whole picture on data right from the beginning to the current situation, and there asked us how beyond what we are doing. And that is exactly what I'm going to talk about. Like while we have actually handled data, as ma'am has told us earlier, that in different formats, for certain IT applications, generating MIS reports and even analytics. But beyond that, what is that we need to do? That's exactly what I'll be sharing on sharing certain initiatives that we are working with in Telangana. Yeah, Swati, can you share my slide, or do you want me to?
Ma'am, what do you prefer? If you want to have more control, you can also share the slides. Else we have it ready.
All right, then I'll share it. Huh?
Okay, ma'am.
Let me try. If I cannot, then I'll approach.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Just a minute. Yeah, is it visible?
Ma'am, your screen's coming up. Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, our vision of data, as a state, most of you might know that we are the youngest state in India, formed in 2014. And we immediately realized that because of the partition and all, we needed, data specific to the Telangana state. So we realized the importance and the potential of data. And we came up with an policy, first of its kind in India in 2016, state-specific open data policy, where we mandated that all government departments will have to share data which is not personally identifiable, non-PII data. So now today, with that policy and initiative, we have an open data portal where we have around more than 800 data sets pertaining to around 30 departments or such, including transport, healthcare, agriculture department, revenue department, and so on. So yeah, that's what we did in the early years. But now, in 2020, we actually announced what you call, the year itself. We said it will be the year of AI. And we focused completely on AI programs and initiatives and started working on, various startups, companies in understanding what are the AI solutions that will be relevant to the government. So, and during that time, when we started working with this, we also realized that whatever data that is already available with us with the government is not amenable, consumable by AI algorithms. So we had digital data in various formats, in CSV format, in Excel format, even certain data sets were available through APIs also, but that wasn't really enough. So in fact, after we announced this year of 2020 as the year of AI, we came up with an initiative called AI for AI, artificial intelligence for agriculture innovation. So we wanted to actually come out with use cases that will really, or services to farmers, using these technologies. So I'll mention what are the kind of use cases later, but that was our idea, how do we chose agriculture as the first domain area where we wanted to experiment this. So we wanted to come out with services that will benefit farmers in terms of advisories to farmers, either for monitoring their crop or for, assessing the demand of a particular crop and so on. We actually engaged a couple of startups who had innovative solutions in this domain. And when we started working with them, we realized, there is huge data available out there, but it's not really, useful. As ma'am has also mentioned earlier, that the quality of data, is not really good, and the format of data also, and the kind of granular data that is required for algorithms was not available with us. And for the startups and for us, and mostly for the startups, it took about 40 to 60% of their effort, cost, and time in getting the data, in cleaning the data, and making it useful for AI algorithms. So we realized that we need to have some platform, some mechanism which actually reduces our burden, the government's work, as well as this. It could be startups, it could be research institutions, it could be companies that really need data to develop innovative solutions, for the government. So we came up with an idea called Agri Data Exchange platform. Initially, we'll be doing it for agriculture, but later we'll be, making it available for other sectors like healthcare, education and others, transportation and so on. So what's the key difference between our data exchange platform and what we already have? For example, Smart Cities, also IUDX also has a data exchange platform, data platform. So I'll actually explain you what's the key difference and what's the new concept that we have come out with. And this we are actually working under the guidance of Jay Satchidanand sir, who was former IT secretary, and currently he's now advisor to World Economic Forum. So we are at this stage where I say we are working on the data exchange platform specific to agriculture, and we will move on to other sectors by 23. Well, I'll give you a brief approach, the approach that we have taken to design this data exchange platform. Usually, most of the government departments, what they do, they design the IT system, then they start thinking about data, as ma'am has already indicated. But this is a different approach that we have taken. It's a use case driven approach. First, identify what are the relevant use cases for the agriculture domain in terms of, again, when we think of agriculture, farmer is at the center, what does a farmer need in terms of increasing his revenue, increasing his income, increasing the productivity, reducing the input costs and so on. So we actually divided the entire agriculture domain into three, what you call phases or of the life cycle or the value chain of agriculture. And this we have done, again, not in isolation. The government did not sit alone and do it. We had the whole ecosystem partners, from the industry, from the academia, from the foundations, were part of it. And it was almost a 60 member, working groups, different working groups we had for each of these, and arrived at these use cases. So, for example, if you look at the initial intelligent crop planning, when the farmer is about to sow, the seeds for, he'll actually select a crop, then procure seeds and sow it. So before he does that, he would, if you can give information to the farmer on the demand for a particular crop, on the kind of, prices that probably could be, could offer him, and also, what would be the likely, temperature, what would be the likely, weather conditions and so on. Well, certain weather conditions are difficult to predict, but at least, broadly, if you can share it, then based on that information, based on that advisories, if you can choose a crop, for example, you may be aware, I think most of you, at least in Telangana, we experience this every year, I'm saying. Farmers, they grow, especially tomatoes, and by the time they get the produce and they want the farmers, and these are low, not income, small holding farmers who have 1 to 2 acres of land. They put their hard work, effort, cost, everything, investments into it. And when they actually want to sell the produce, the prices go down so much that even the transport costs will not be covered. As a result, what farmers do, they just dump the produce on the roadside. It's really, disheartening to see that. So if you can really let the farmer that this year, if you are going to produce potatoes in these many quintals, this price would go down because most of the farmers are going to sow the same. So if that, we can give that. So this is use case driven approach. Similarly, once he grows the plants, especially, in Telangana, cotton is one of the major crops. This is, these are again use cases. If you look at in the second column, smart farming, we call it, where you actually help the farmer in, when the crop is growing, you try to tell him what's the soil, how much nutrients you need to add, how much water, micro irrigation. Again, this is, we are actually implementing a solution wherein for micro irrigation, IoT sensors are installed in the farmer side, and based on the soil moisture condition, based on the temperature, based on the soil, requirements, it actually is the right quantity of water. This is smart micro irrigation. The second use case, pest prediction and control. We actually tried out an AI algorithm. Again, this is developed by Vadwani AI for cotton crop, where, what you call, it's a pink, a specific pest, it's called pink bollworm, which attacks the cotton crop and destroys the crop. So this actually, farmers, by the time they realize this pest has infested, damage is already done. So we actually wanted to alert the farmer 2 weeks in advance so that he can take corrective decision by using the right pesticide and so on. So if you look at pest prediction and control alone, different crops require different data in terms of the kind of pesticide, the kind of temperature, the kind of humidity, because based on those conditions, the pests actually attack. So, so the point that I'm trying to make here is very, very granular data specific to a certain use case is required for to develop algorithms. And so that's what we are doing. The third phase is farm gate to fork. Once the produce is ready, most of the farmers, they don't have connect to markets. So can we give them market intelligence, and can we aggregate the produce and send it in bulks? There are certain players out available, and quality assessment. If you look at here, quality assessment is very key for buyers, especially when they're exporting. So right now we don't have technologies for that. It's done mostly manual. So we're trying to use AI-based algorithm solutions, to assess quality of chilies in a Telangana crop, chilies, and the other is turmeric. These are two cash crops in Telangana. So, and traceability is another one when you're exporting crops. A lot of people say that we do not want to use produce. I mean, it's a trend that actually consume a lot of pesticides. So here, this traceability we are using blockchain technology. We're actually tracking the entire crop right from the time a seed is produced. What kind of seed is being produced, and how that seed is actually traveling across its journey from production to the end crop. So that gives insights to the buyers, like what's the kind of quality, on the quality of crop, on the quality of the produce. So these are various use cases we have actually come out with. And the last one is, of course, data governance. So once you have the data exchange platform, you need to have governance in place. And these are some of the directories we need: agri registries, agri directories, and so on. Of course, it is specific to agri domain. So, I mean, as I said, why do we even need this agri data exchange platform? As I already explained to you earlier, all of us are aware they're confined to certain silos, certain departments, and the potential, is not discovered. Because unless you share data, the ecosystem is, because in agriculture especially, technology has not created that impact, unlike other sectors. At least, health to a certain extent we have done, but in agriculture somehow there are no tech enabled solutions that are really helping the farmers. And last year, I think, McKinsey and NASSCOM released a report which says that $500 billion worth of data can be unleashed, from data alone. And these data pertains to 9 sectors, around 7 or 9 sectors. But out of that, 3 sectors pertains to the government. One is agriculture, healthcare. The other, I think, is smart cities, I think. So from agriculture alone, they estimated that $65 billion of worth potential can be unleashed if you can make available data to the ecosystem. So that's the reason why we are actually working on this edX platform. And as I said, different people were approaching us. Now, there are a dozen startup companies that are working with us in agriculture. But again, it's a nightmare for us. Each startup, each use case requires a different set of data, and that data is not really available. Yes, should I? Somebody raised a hand. Should I stop?
That's okay, ma'am. You go on. I'll take the questions after your presentation.
Thank you. So, I mean, it's a nightmare, giving this data. So if there is a platform where there is no manual intervention required, that will actually help not only the government, but the entire ecosystem. And we can really come out with certain innovative solutions. So what are the key objectives of this data exchange platform is, While we have data platforms, Government of India also has designed, but the key difference here is it's not like we're going to store data on the data exchange data platform that we are designing. It's kind of a stock exchange. If you are aware of stock exchange, people just, offer their stocks, they buy and sell. This happens. Here also, only exchange happens. The data remains stored with the respective data owners. And these data owners could be government, could be any other private startups, could be academia, could be research organization. They can actually make available this data to anybody. Of course, smart contracts will be in place. Consumers will have to actually comply to certain policies, norms, and so on. So the key is it's 1:1 data transfers, where it's a whole paradigm change from one-to-one data transfers to end-to-end data exchange. Like n number of people serving n number of consumers. So that's the key idea on this. And another key thing that we are bringing in, all of us know that data protection, we don't have a data protection law yet, So, but here for the agriculture domain, when you have to offer advisories to farmers, you need to actually, you have to share personal data also, like his phone number, and his name, the kind of crop he's growing, because unless that is shared, advisories cannot be passed on to him. So we are actually implementing what we call consent management. And again, this is applications today, because a lot of people are aware of it. So consent management is a key model that we are actually implementing in this. Of course, because it's a large transaction, a transaction platform, grievance mechanism will be in place. So these are some of the objectives that edX will actually provide. And again, Neetu ma'am has actually emphasized on quality of data a lot. So this is approach again in selecting what data should go onto the platform. First of all, most of our government departments have limited resources in times of manpower, in times of the budget that can be allocated to a particular project, right, in terms of time. So what we want to do, we want to use the 20-80%. If you can choose the top 20 which can actually serve at least 80% of the requirements of the market, then that's good enough. So this is the approach that we are using. Instead of working on the entire data, we just selected these 14 use cases. Weather and soil-based advisories, if you look at number 1. Second is hyperlocal weather, based on the hyperlocal weather, soil-based sowing advisories. Then precision agriculture, traceability, these are these. So against these use cases, we have actually worked out these parameters. Each use case, is it data driven? Do you really require data for this particular use case? Is it data intensive? Is there a lot of data that need to be captured? When you actually implement this, is there a value addition either for the farmer or for any partner? What is the potential demand for this? What is the current digital state? Do we have digital data already there, or is it in Word documents, PDF documents? What is the status? And is there a scope to actually implement 4IR technologies, is fourth industrial revolution or emerging technologies? We give a rating for each of these, and we select use cases that are above 85 to 100%. So if you look at, the fifth row, soil health management, e-soil health reports scored the highest with 100%. All green dots, if you can see, in terms of specificity, data driven, it's a data driven thing. You need soil, NPK values, and then and once you have the data, you can your irrigation method changes, your crop changes, you input what are the kind of inputs that you need to put changes. So this is a very, very important parameter, is what we came out with, 100%. So this will be our first. So the second one is, if you look at it, 90%, there are 3 use cases. Traceability for export products is a very, very important use case for agriculture. If you want to make a farmer earn more, we need to export. And for that, when people are buying from other countries, they are looking at quality of produce. So traceability is the only solution for that, technology-enabled solution. So this is our approach, we started with agriculture. Initially, we wanted to focus on one thing and then, expand to other. So based on this, we'll actually put use cases, use use cases and collect data and post it on a data exchange platform. And to give a more granular view, if you look at, hyperlocal weather advisory alone, hyperlocal weather means for a particular location, what are the weather conditions at a micro level. So you look at this, farmer data is required, is name, age, address. These are all PII data. So consent management is required. The farmer should give his consent to share his data. The second, land details. Again, they're personal data. Then the other two are weather and geospatial. And weather data, if you look at time series data on weather, last couple of years, time series data, precipitation, temperature, humidity. So this is a granularity that we need to go for a particular use case. Similarly, for pest management, if you look at more or less, it's the same. But if you look at crop data, it's specific for this particular use case. What is the area under cultivation? What is the crop type of crop sown? What is the variety? And when I talk about variety, an interesting solution that we work with is, variety, usually these agriculture extension officers, they go to the farm, they identify the variety and put it in a, they have an app. But we wanted to experiment with AI algorithm using satellite data. With satellite data, you can capture vast lands of crop, right? So again, Satsure is a company that worked with us. Within rice, we have basmati, there are a number of varieties. So using AI algorithms, we were able to actually identify a particular, variety of rice. Of course, the accuracy was around, 80 to 89%, but that's good enough for estimation purposes. Here, we're not giving advisories, right? So, variety data is one area. So this is a granular level, at which you need to go when you're actually hosting data or identifying data elements for any particular use case. And this is the architecture of our platform, Agriculture Data Exchange platform. If you look at two modules are in red color or brown color highlighted, because user management, API management, transaction management are typical in any Exchange platforms to have. User management, somebody has to register, authenticate, authorize himself or herself. Data discovery is one key thing. As I said, when we work with a startup, it was, lot of effort. It was laborious to discover what kind of data is required for a particular use case. So this actually provides that model provides, helps the consumer and both, especially the consumer. So what is the data that is available? It makes his life easier. The second one, as I said, consent manager is the key. Now most of the platforms are actually using this. So be it citizen or a farmer or anybody, we need to actually take his consent. And of course, privacy, security are the key considerations in the design. No doubt about that. So on the left side, if you see here, these data providers will make this data available through an API. On the right, it's the data consumers. So what's the key difference between them? Of course, one key difference is data providers provide the data and data consumers, they actually consume the data. But while these data providers are actually, say, as a government, I'm sharing farmers' data, then I need to take farmers' consent. So if it's an individual who is sharing the data, then the individual himself is giving his consent. That's not a problem. So here they have to create a catalog, what kind of data, classification, metadata creation is very critical for discovery of data. And again, data registration, these are all normal in any data. On the right side, if you see, here actually data quality is one of the key things. Before they actually download, if you see on the right side, testing data quality. So sort of validation of the data is also provided on the platform. That's a key thing that we are planning. So data discovery, these are more or less the same. And an app will be provided to both, for the data providers and data consumers to upload and download the data. So this is the overall architecture of our edX, and we are actually planning to, engage Indian Institute of Science that already worked on Smart City Exchange platform. So it's almost our, requirements are ready. Probably in 2 to 3 months at least, our Exchange platform should be ready. So that's it. But one just last project that I want to mention is we have partnered with UNDP on a project called NextGen Gov Data for Policy in Food Systems. So we are actually, they're using public data sets available on food systems. and they're working out, developing an AI algorithm that actually helps policymakers in making certain decisions in terms of what crop can they recommend to the citizens, to the farmers, and so on. So with this, actually, my presentation comes to an end. Yeah, I'm open for questions if there are any.
Thanks a lot, Rama ma'am. Actually, I will take up a few questions. Faiz, can I request you to allow Neha ma'am to speak? She's there in our attendees. Okay, no worries. In the meanwhile, ma'am, I'll take up a question, whoever has written their questions in the chat room. There is a question, how much safe is our data while they're sharing it with the ecosystem? Can we face problems in the agricultural field, or can a crop be damaged if it's not sealed in this real-time basis? So how can I explain the time frame and scope of my analysis from the farmers to the stockholders? It's also written, ma'am, if you can also read in the chat room, this question that I've taken up.
After sharing the data with the ecosystem, can we face problems in the agriculture field, or can a crop be damaged if it's not scaled properly in the real-time basis? How can I explain the time frame? Yeah, one thing, who is it? Name, I don't know. So yeah, we are making available only the data here. We're not developing the solution. The startup or any company that is actually developing the solution, they develop and offer the solution. If they're offering independently on their own, then government will not have responsibility. But if that solution is endorsed by the government, like for example, we have done the AI Vadvani pest management tool. Actually, we went out to the farmers, reached out to the farmers and offered this solution. So what we did was, we actually got our agriculture university domain experts onto the board. And as Neetu ma'am has said, it's just not IT alone that can do this job. You need domain experts, you need policymakers. Right? So we brought the domain experts on board and asked them to validate whether the advices that are given by this particular tool is really helpful for the farmer. Is it actually they have a lot of domain experience. They can actually judge whether that particular advisory is correct or not. So only after validation, we actually allowed the farmers to use the solution. So maybe we can do that.
Great, thanks, ma'am. There's another question here. Through smart farming, can we not provide the list of crops to the farmers? And from that list, they should select the type of crop they are going to grow, that specific kind of crop. And that data is available on the database so that at a later stage, if anyone is going to grow the same crop, we could suggest them to grow another crop instead of that crop, as they would have already grown by some other farmers. The question is also written in the chat room, ma'am, in case you want to read at your own ease.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and it's the need of the hour, Swati. But in agriculture, it's a very complicated domain. It's not that you can have, a list of crops in a database, and based on that, you can advise the farmers, because the climate conditions are dynamic. They change quite often. Demand, you need to assess the demand, requirement across India. It's just not in a particular state. If I talked about potatoes, right? So what about the demand across India? And we all, as consumers also, we see sometimes the prices just jack up to, 50 rupees, 60 rupees a kg, and suddenly they drop to around 5 rupees a kg, So that kind of price information also we need to have. It's about price information, demand information, weather forecast, which is again dynamic. And when I say weather, climate, precipitation, or all the weather. So it's a very complex model that has to be dynamic. It may not be, at least to my knowledge, it cannot be in the form of like this year, okay, we have selected this, keep it in the database and advise the farmers. That may not work. It has to be a very dynamic process every season. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. One last question that's not directly related to the Agri Data platform, but it's been there since Dr. Neeta ma'am's presentation. So it says, if I face any important issues, then how can I focus on our actionable insights, take data on grant to overcome the issues on higher priority basis?
Is it there in the chat?
I have rewritten the question here, so you can take the last question there. I copied it and typed it again.
The Q&A, in the Q&A.
Yes, ma'am, in the Q&A.
Not able to find.
Okay, it's okay, ma'am. Then I just
Can
typed
you just repeat it? Can you just repeat it? Otherwise, I'll just try to
Sure.
understand.
If I face any important issues, then how can I focus on our actionable insights to overcome the issues on higher priority basis? I think you mentioned something in your presentation around it also, ma'am, how to prioritize the problem, something.
Yeah. But here she's talking about issues.
Right, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, there's the issues. Yes. Can
I'm
I
not clear about the question.
unmute and speak the question for
Yeah,
yourself?
that's better.
If the speaker can identify themselves and take the question themselves. Okay, ma'am.
Then how can I?
Raising the hand. That's okay, ma'am. I don't see anyone raising the hand. If they do, I'll certainly let you know. It's totally okay. I don't
Yeah.
see anyone raising the hand as yet. So thank you very much, ma'am. And, you shared the insightful use case of the agriculture sector and your agri data platform and how you are approaching the entire data analysis. That was extremely useful for us. We have a lot to learn from how government of Telangana is using, the very advanced approach to solve, especially in the agriculture sector. So thanks a lot once again, ma'am. And if the questions come up and if you're still in the session, I will certainly, request them to unmute and take up the question. On that note, I'm going to move on the next part of our next session in our workshop today. So for that, it's been actually more than an hour. You all have been patiently listening to, the two sessions that had taken place. And I'm sure that you're all having a good time learning and, to what our speakers had to offer today. We'll now take a little pause and we will have a gaming session. It's a fun activity. So I hope for that, I'm going to invite our Intel AI for Youth coach, Mr. Karan, and he's going to walk you through some fun AI experiments. Over to you, Karan.
Thank you, Swati. I hope I'm audible and
Yes.
you're able to see me.
Yes, Karan.
All right. So hello, everyone. And now in this brief part of the session, we will be engaging in a very fun activity, and that is called a Kahoot quiz. So let me take you through the quiz first, and then I'll share my screen and guide you with the instructions. So this quiz has 10 questions. You have 20 seconds each to answer the question. And the bonus here is that the quicker you answer, the more points you get. So be fast in answering, and the more points you get, the more chances you will have to win the quiz. So let me do one thing. Let me share my screen and take you through the platform and guide you. How will you be able to participate in the quiz? All right. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Karan.
Yes, so this is the, I'll tell you the instructions. So you'll have to first open your browsers and go to this website, the platform, www.kahoot.it. Once you do that, it will ask you for a game pin, which you can see here on my screen. And this pin will also be shared with you in the chat section in case you missed it. So once you have entered the pin, you will be asked to enter a name. So enter your name or any fun name that you want to enter and participate in the quiz. So kindly do that, and let's wait for everyone to join the quiz, and then we will begin. If you have any questions, please put them forward in the chat section and we'll help you out. All right, so we have a lot of participants here already. We have someone by the name My Fun Nickname. That's nice. We have someone by the name AI Quiz. That's quite nice to see. And others, I think they've joined by their own names. That's good. So we have 18 participants so far. I request everyone to participate in the quiz. It's going to be fun and an interesting one. All right, we have someone by the name Ding Dong. That's nice. Someone by the name Just Do It. That's good. All right, we have 32 participants so far. Let's wait for others to also join. I request all the participants to quickly join so that we can begin. Let me brief you with the instructions for the quiz. A question will appear on the screen with options. You have 20 seconds to answer the question, and the quicker you answer, the more points you get. And at the end of the quiz, the top 3 who are on the leaderboard will be the winners of the quiz. All right. So already we have around 37 participants. That's good. Waiting for more. We have people by the name Kahoot, Friday Fun, Yo-Yo. That's great. Good to know that you are choosing quite fun and interesting names as well to participate in the quiz. All right. So I believe we are ready to begin participating in the quiz. If you haven't joined yet, you can still join us to participate in the quiz. All you have to do is go on to www.kahoot.it and enter the game pin, which is there in my screen. Once you do that, enter your name and you shall be part of the quiz as well. All right. So let's begin the quiz. All the best and let's have some fun. According to big data statistics, what is the estimated growth in data creation by 2025? You have 4 options. Any one of them is the right answer. You have to choose the right answer as quick as possible to get more points. All right, slow response, that's all right. Let's see what's the correct answer to this question and how many of you get it right. Time is up. The correct answer is more than 180 zettabytes, and 23 of you got it right. That's great. Let's see the leaderboard now. We have SG on the top with Chandrahas, Abhi, Shiva, and DK in the top 5. That's good. We have 9 more questions to go. Let's look into the second question now. What is the presentation of quantitative data in graphical form called? You have 4 options. Any one of them is the right answer. You have to choose the right answer as quick as possible to score more points. 3 seconds to go. Let's see how many of you get it right. Yes, it's data visualization. Right. All right. So let's take a look at the leaderboard now. Let's see if there is a change. Yes, there is a change. Abhi is now leading, and DK, Vaividya, Tanu, and VG are in the leaderboard. The gap is quite close. So it's going to be quite an interesting quiz where the leaderboard is going to change perhaps in every question. Let's go on to the third one now. Which one of the application of data analytics? I'm sure you must have heard about these applications in our day-to-day lives, but which one of these is an application of data analytics? That's the question. Quick answers, that's good. 5 seconds to go. All right, so 33 of you got it right. Yes, it is all of the above. Travel route planning, in logistics, delivery, Google Web Search. In all of these applications, we see the application of data analytics. Great, let's look at the leaderboard now. There is a change, but Abhi is still leading. That's good. And Malik has an answer streak of 3 answers in a row. Wonderful. Let's go to the 4th question now. Which one of the following is a type of data analytics? There are different types of data analytics. Which one of these is one of them? Let's see how many of you get it right. I'm getting quick answers. So I think all of you do know the answer to this question. All right, time up. Let's see the right answer. It is all of the above. It's descriptive, predictive, diagnostic. Can someone tell me in the chat what are the other types of data analytics, if you know the answer to this? Do you know the other types of data analytics? You can put them in the chat. All right, let's see the leaderboard now. Is there a change? Yes, there is a change, where Vidya is now leading the quiz with Abhi shortly behind in 2nd place. And we have around 6 players with an answer streak of 3.
Karan, someone wrote in the chat room, prescriptive.
Yes, and there is one more, cognitive.
Okay.
So there are 5 types, right?
Oh, Karan, someone also wrote exploratory. Is that also one?
That's exploratory data analysis, EDA.
Okay. Okay.
All
Thank
right, let's go to the next question now. Here comes number 5. True or false? According to Live Stats, Google gets over 8.5 billion searches every day. Is that true or false? Okay, quick answers. That's fascinating. Let's see if how many of you get it right. 5 seconds to go. Yes, it is true. Google does get over 8.5 billion searches every day. And the number is quite big. If you just analyze the number over the week, over a period of 1 month, and even a year, the number is just unimaginable. All right, so let's see the leaderboard now. Is there a change? No, there is no change where they are still leading, but sorry, is my screen stuck?
No, it's fine.
All right, here comes the next question. What is the process of evaluating data through analytical and statistical tools called? Ten seconds to go. All right, let's see the correct answer to this. The correct answer is data analysis. 22 of you got it right. That's good. Let's see the leaderboard now. There is a change. Now DK is leading the quiz, and shortly behind we have Abhi. And 4 players have reached an answer streak of 5. That's great. Let's go to the next one now. True or false? 80 to 90% of the data in the world is structured. Is that true or is it false? Okay, quick answers. That's good. 8 more seconds to go. Let's see how many of you get it right. All right, so the time is up and the correct answer is false. The truth is that 80 to 90% of the data in the world is unstructured. That's the correct answer to this. Let's see the leaderboard. All right, so DK is still leading, but GM, Vaividya, and VG have climbed up the leaderboard. They are 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And MIH has an answer streak of 3 answers. That's great. Let's go to the final 3 questions. Here come question number 8. What skill was identified by the World Economic Forum as the largest skill gap in 2021? All these are quite important skills in today's time, but which one of them was identified as the largest skill gap in 2021? Time is up. The correct answer is data science, and 31 of you got it right. That's great. Let's see the leaderboard. Is there a change? All right, there's no change. That's great. But the gap is quite close between the first and the second participant. And 3 players have an answer streak of 7. That's great. Here comes the final 2 questions. Which one of the following is the highest in terms of the size of data? So when we talk about size of data, which one of these 4 options is the highest? You may have come across one of the words, one of the options in one of the questions in this quiz. All right, so time is up. The correct answer is zettabytes. All right, I hope someone knows what comes after zettabytes, because this is not the end in terms of the size. It's quite fascinating to see the amount of data that has been collected in today's time, and the potential for that number to even increase in the coming few years. So the correct answer is zettabytes. Let's see the leaderboard. There's no change. DK is still leading the quiz, and Vaividya, VG, and Tanu are 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And 3 places, Kahoot has climbed 3 places in the leaderboard. All right, here comes the final question. Let's see who turns out to be the winners of the quiz.
Hey, Karan, by the way, somebody wrote in the chat, yottabyte.
Yes, that's right. So less than 1% of the world's data has been analyzed. Is that true or false? Among the zettabytes of data that we have collected, less than 1% of it has been analyzed. Is that true or false? It is true. In fact, the number is somewhere around 0.5%. So that's quite less compared to zettabytes of data that we have collected so far. So let's see the winners of the Kahoot quiz that you have participated today. In 3rd position, we have Vaividya with 8351 points. Abhi is 2nd with 8977. And DK is the winner of this quiz with 9179 points. Congratulations, all the 3 winners. And 10 out of 10 questions. That's quite amazing. All right, great. So I hope you had fun in this quiz. I hope it was informative and you learned something through the quiz. And I now hand over to Swati for the next segment of this workshop. Thank you.
Thanks, Karan. That was refreshing and very informative and fun too. So now we are going to proceed to our next session that is going to discuss how to translate data into actionable insights. And for this session, I would like to introduce our speaker, Mr. Satya Srinivas. Mr. Srinivas, you bring in a rich background in technology and digital developments designed to disrupt traditional operating models in banking and insurance domains. Sir, you've helped the largest bank and the 4th largest bank in Myanmar to achieve digital disruption and have helped in the data strategy and implementation programs. You've also worked with India's largest health insurance company to digitally reinvent themselves by reimagining a wide range of technology and operational processes. Over to you, sir. Sir, you're on mute.
Yeah. Can I get access to share my screen?
Certainly, sir. Fez, could you just look into that so sir is able to share his screen?
So you are getting a share screen rights.
So are you able to share your screen now?
Yeah.
Excellent. So some problem?
Now give me a second.
Sure, sir, sure.
So can you see my shared screen now or no?
Not as yet, sir.
Yeah,
Now it's there, sir. It's there.
okay. At the outset, thank you very much for inviting me to give a small talk on data and actionable insights. Since this comes under the aegis of National E-Governance and National Information, Informatics Center, I thought we have to do something that's very, very close to the people's requirement. And so given this, I'm going to talk about a few slides. I'm trying to cover a whole lot. The item that was given to me is real-time actionable insights. And then, the use cases could go, grow, in different directions. And, it was hard for me to come up with something that we could focus on, but I will give you a big picture as where the patient care and telemedicine is going to go in the years to come. This is the need of the hour, right? And we are going to put the technology, into right use for the benefit of our people. Without much further ado, there are a lot of challenges, and we have seen this in our pandemic situation. We have seen this in our in COVID lockdowns. We have seen people fighting for oxygen, people not getting bed when they wanted to get their treatment at the right time. So there are a lot of challenges we still have. That's because we have not explored the digital part and the data part, right? When we talk about digital, we are also talking about capturing data the correct way, right? So which means we are removing humans, we are removing human fatigue, we are removing human error prone human operations. So there are a lot of things that comes into our mind, right? Patients do not have quality healthcare. So again, it's a debatable term, but this is widely used, whether treating somebody and giving them medicine is actually healthcare, or is it about giving giving the right knowledge and right education for people to maintain their health, right? So it's a debatable point, but at this session, we are going to take healthcare as a place where patients go to get themselves rectified, right? Especially from the rural people, if they have to come to bigger cities and they have to actually spend their money and time and and get treated, right? Medical health records are not available. Most of the time, it is not available at the fingertips. People don't carry them, they lose it, and if it is printed, then over a period the paper gets smudged, it gets soiled. You will not be able to read it, and there is nothing better that you can do with those kinds of medical health records, right? And hospitals do not have accesses to what has happened. If I'm, for example, touring somewhere in India and I fall sick and or I drop on the in the middle of the road, they do not know who I am, and they will not know what my pre-existing conditions are. So how do we take care of this? You actually take the patient in the middle of the road, then you actually take him to the hospital. And then the challenges are that you have to identify this guy. You will have to find out that, what are his preconditions and what treatments was he taking? Is there a list of drugs that he was taking? Etc., etc. So this is a non-deterministic problem that we are trying to solve, right? And then you have seasonal and cyclical variations of weather, and then the diseases come calling. And how do we alert the local administration to make sure that the dengue is coming or malaria is coming? Make sure that the third wave or the fourth wave now of COVID is going to come somewhere in June, which is what the prediction is. How we need to be ready. So there are some lessons we have already learned with COVID care, right? And government does not have access to the newborn vaccination. That's extremely important. When a newborn is, my wife is a pediatrician, I understand what the problems are. And, the newborns don't have access to, they get vaccinated, but what did they get vaccinated? Where did they get vaccinated? Did they follow the chart that IMA prescribes? Not known, right? You may have through the distribution channel who has bought how much, but whom has it been administered on? Not known, right? So there are a lot of these challenges, and what are healthcare data? Let's take some examples, right? And this is very close to my heart. And if I can be of some help before I kick the bucket, this is probably the best place that I can add value to India and the ecosystem, right? There is electronic health records, personal health records, electronic prescription services, patient portals, master patient indexes, right? Health-related smartphones, right? There are apps and lifestyle monitoring, right? We know that we eat rich food these days, but with the rich food comes the amount of responsibility to tweak your lifestyle. And I don't know how many of us are doing. So that's another area that we can, that this is where the healthcare data comes into picture, right? I was looking through the questions, and I have not added more cognitive here in terms of cognitive analytics. The audience knows this very well, so I'm not going to drain the slide. So why do we need to track healthcare data, right? Number one, better health, better care, right? Lower costs, right? And better health, right? These are the three pillars on which, and most of these things are, are avoidable if you are well educated, if you are aware, if you know that you do certain things, and the consequences are going to follow, right? So, but the ecosystem, the government ecosystem in itself, the amount of government hospitals there is, obviously forms the first people who will be transitioning to this platform if and when this takes place. And believe me, not all looks bad, because not all is going to look bad, because there are many things that are happening for us, right? Let us look at let us take a population, sorry about the spelling. It's about identifying at-risk members, right? For example, a guy is now on a pacemaker, and is he walking enough? Is there a way that is he under stress? Are we able to get better readings? So the fact of the matter is that most of these gadgets these days comes with an ability to transmit data, right? You have wearables. Underneath wearables, you have a lot of IoT devices that are going to come and give you data, right? So how do we design these interventions, which is at the right time, for the patient, and how do we bend the curve of avoidable costs, right? For example, a guy is not supposed to drink coffee, but he is drinking coffee, right? But he has to be honest enough to enter what he has consumed, similar to alcohol, similar to tobacco, similar to rich food when you are supposed to eat, diet food, for example. How do we bend the curve? What kind of interventions? When we talk about this, should the patient stay in the hospital, right? That is the question. If not, staying in the hospital, number one, takes away the bed space. Number two, increases the cost. And number three, it does not allow other people, needy people, to get the needed intervention, right? So after the operation, in the post-operative period, do you want people to stay in the hospital and occupy the space, or is there enough ecosystem now which can get connected via IoT, and still we will be able to monitor these patients? This is where our thinking and our ideas should be moving, right? When you look at healthcare data, we define, and when you are looking at real-time use cases, I'm defining you a big picture where the data tracking, capturing of the data is also going to give us a system to evolve, or an ecosystem that evolves, right? So what are the sources of data? Obviously, I have not done this. I have done a lot of research, and these things are not and I do give sources and where my research has gone. There are government agencies, patient portals, research studies, generic databases, payer record. When we talk about payer, it is the insurance companies. Smartphones has all the things that wearable has. Wearable devices, search engine data, public records, electronic health records. The need to have electronic health records. So when you look at things like this, the need to have electronic health records is extremely important, right? That probably is your first place, or the low-hanging fruit to start. And there are many hospitals you go to these days. You have an ability to onboard a patient, but you don't have an ability to capture what the patient came for, what the diagnosis was, what was the prescription written by the doctor, and what was the treatment advised, right? So this whole thing, even within known hospitals in metro cities, this type of records is not there, right? So the reception where they onboard you as a patient will not know what because it's all written on a piece of paper, right? When you write it on a piece of paper, you lose data, right? That's your low-hanging fruit. That's where we need to start addressing. Right? Benefits, right? Remote patient monitoring. I think this is, people are going to be extremely benefited with remote patient monitoring. It also brings us to, we need to address, is rural India knowledgeable enough to deal with, right? When we do remote patient monitoring, there are many ways we can address this, right? We can build communities of service, right? Just like Jilla Parishads and Panchayats, you can have communities of service where there, believe me, our fairer sex in India is extremely smart, right? I cannot say the same thing about us, the men folk, but the women folk in India are extremely smart. They understand the nooks and cranny of what needs to be done. Communities of practice should start from there, right? And devices to analytics, there are enough, right? And as we speak, the cost of these devices are coming down, right? For example, I'll tell you, long ago, I read a book called Fast Forward by Alvin Toffler, right? What Alvin Toffler says is that the cost of these devices are going to go down and down and down as new generations come. So the new generations are coming. They're coming with Wi-Fi enabled. India is penetrating well enough. There is enough, places where we can start capturing the data, right? Remote equipment configuration can be done without you having to be in the remote place. Virtual appliance management can be done. You don't have to go to a virtual, to a place, and you can start. The example is this. Just now we are on Zoom interacting with each other, right? Caregiver equipment administration. Can we do servicing? Can we upgrade software? Can we make sure that the software is diagnosed, the devices are diagnosed? All these things are there. It is, we just have to put our mind together, and, government has 140 crore people power to negotiate with these device makers, right? And this is where our thinking should be going. Again, these are again going to give us data for us to capture. Right? Healthcare ecosystem. This, I have taken this from McKinsey. There is advanced analytics, support, payments and financing. Then you have, it connects consumer with traditional modalities of care. Then you have a social structure, leverages support services. Then you have integrates home, near home, and virtual care centers and health and wellness data, right? So the fact of the matter is, this ecosystem is where we need to be on to. When we go to this ecosystem, you obviously have to have data privacy law in India, right? Right now, I have seen a lot of doctors talking about patients with other doctors, taking names. Obviously, it's verbal communication, but still the privacy is not sacrosanct yet in India. So data privacy law is extremely important. And how do we make sure that the data is actually residing in a place which cannot be broken into is extremely important, right? And self-service solutions and monitoring tools, and the quality of these monitoring tools, the daily activity tracking, all these are extremely important for us. So for example, let us say, I'll give you an example, right? Let us take that I have not been walking and I'm supposed to be walking. Number one, I might be having arthritis. Number two, my heart could be in trouble if I don't exercise. Number three, I may be diabetic, right? I may be having umpteen number of problems, right? As soon as my knee replacement surgery is done, I should be walking, right? I should be exercising. There has to be rehabilitation. When we talk about these things, if I don't, on my wearable, if the data does not get transmitted and a community within the rural space looks at it, and then there is an alert, that you get, and in the alert, you will see the dashboard also. When we talk about the dashboard, it's about data visualization, who is not walking, who is eating right, who is onto consuming alcohol again, etc., etc. This communities of practice within the panchayat or the district level or the village level will get us there, right? I'm giving you examples of how do we take this data and move there, right? But this is a journey. This is not going to happen overnight, right? The fact of the matter is the doctors, the practicing doctors are technologically challenged. They're either technologically challenged or there are too many patients for them to see in a given day that they don't have time to type. There are solutions for this as well. There is speech to text. There are, in the local vernacular, we have a lot of, speech to text happening. You name it, we have it. And we have the ability to store what has been said through the microphone. So there is no reason for us to get there. And that is the, it's mental block, but people have to get there. Right? This is again harnessing power of data, again shown in a different format. There are data, claims, prescription, member, provider, from a payer perspective, from insurance companies' perspective. How do we get into predictive modeling, gaps in care, for example, right? Now the protocol described by IMA has to be followed, or from ICMR has to be followed. If there is a deviation, then there is black and white. There are no gray areas anymore. And that is where I think the provider performance also starts coming in, right? How the doctors are following the protocol. I have seen umpteen number of cases where the child gets administered antibiotics when they should not be administered, right? You have to wait a certain period, 4 or 5 days after, to determine whether an antibiotic should be given or not. But there is blind usage of these antibiotics, and this is exactly where we should be aware. And use of antibiotic is like bombing. It not only brings the immunity of the person who is taking it, but it also brings down the community's immunity as well, because the antibiotic, the certain generation of antibiotic is being exposed, right? So what can we do, with IoT? Chronic care management, assistant living, wearables and fitness trackers, remote treatment solutions, right? Confidential health data hubs, extremely important. This has to be, and we as a nation, if we don't have this, we don't know where this collective health index is going, right? I might look extremely healthy, but am I really healthy? What are my hidden problems, right? And if we don't get this confidential health record data hubs and collective health IQ of the country and the community thereon, it's going to be extremely difficult. Sleep therapy devices, glucose, blood glucose and diabetes, asthma. Asthma now also comes with Wi-Fi. When there is Wi-Fi, you have the ability to capture data. And there are a number of these cloud service providers who give everything that you need to capture the data, right? There is IoT hub on Microsoft Azure, and that's what we work predominantly in our company, and we are partners with Microsoft. But this is where there is enough capability for us to capture everything that is happening. We are talking about smart cities, right? Without capturing the IoT data, you can't have a smart city, right? So what are the advantages? Reduces the cost of care, penetrate rural areas, extremely important. God knows how many of our people don't have enough quality healthcare because there are no primary care physician in a certain place, right? Create communities of support. These are extremely important. Over a period, I mean, we have been known that, the midwife actually delivered a baby, and we have heard a lot of these stories. So I don't understand why we cannot create communities of support. That also, there are data that we can capture. Remote monitoring. Most importantly, healthcare for all, extremely important for this, right? So again, this is a picture that we are going to take, and this has to be implemented for telemedicines, right? If we have to start following telemedicine, India has to embrace this change, right? India now is for more than 133 funded telehealth startups, right? But each of these are working independently without a data privacy, right? That is the policy, right? That has to come out. And there are about 5,295 health tech startups. So not all is lost for us. We are going in that direction. We are trying to address the deficit of doctors per 1,000 patients, right? Or per 1,000 of our population base. But, can we do teleconsultation? Can we have everything captured? Can we make it transparent? This is where the confidence of the patients is going to grow multifold when we implement this change, right? This again is telemedicine. It's going to give us these are the use cases, right? These are actual use cases, real-time use cases. You have ideas coming up. What is your as-is analysis? And where do we want to go with this? And how do we take care of the clinical, technology, legal, and regulatory? Extremely important. If I'm not qualified enough to speak on the government and if we have enough regulatory bodies, but I do know that they are IRDAI and I do know IMA, but the two are they talking, right? I don't know. So that's for qualified people to think about. And how do we go about implementing this? And after implementation, the operations and this entire national health grid for telemedicine needs to have an operation which is done just the same way everywhere, right? You cannot change the way you're operating and the processes. And the good thing is, Pradhan Mantri digital token is already announced. So there are going to be, with the I haven't done enough research, but I think there is going to be an Aadhaar-based system where digital token can be given. But then again, this again is the high quality and reliable services with the help of continuous improvement, right? And whenever we implement a system, it's a good practice to have responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, well identified, so that the cogwheels of our system is going to be, who is responsible knows they're responsible, who is accountable will know, they're accountable, who is consulted, they give their opinion and inform. So it's an extremely complex matrix organization that needs to run this telemedicine. But the whole point is, don't view telemedicine as just another run-of-the-mill, fly-by-night operation. These are extremely serious, and this is going to bring down the cost of healthcare in this country, tremendously, because now with the use of technology, we are actually pushing to the last mile of consumers, the patients, right? And we all know that the new companies are being, they are being designed with customer in the middle. Healthcare system should have patients in the middle. They are the consumers, and the violations, the outliers, and who is getting administered by antibiotics, etc. That needs to be captured, right? That's on one side, and on the other side, you need to have who is overcharging. Are they getting overcharged? What is the the acceptable charges for a particular that's debatable, not within my realm of thinking. That's outside my realm of thinking, but this is still another problem to make healthcare accessible. Then again, patient and doctor traversal. How do they actually traverse? By making a call, and there are many times that the patients go shopping. The patients actually don't get into allopathy, and then they go shopping for alternate medicine. But as a patient, you have the right to shop around as a consumer, but that has to be captured, so that the risks and against advice are all captured and showcased well. So these are my references that I have read to prepare these. I'm sure we are heading in some direction. There is huge, what do you call, smartphone is increasing. The penetration of smartphone is increasing. It's now at 66%, I think 66.12 in the year 2022, according to statista.com. So there are many things. So there are people who are moving from rural to urban to get better treatment. That is not a necessity. They can still have the comfort of their own home to get quality healthcare. And this is where, and communities of service is an extremely important factor in our delivery of healthcare and patient care. So what I started off with as data, and because this is extremely dear and for many people within the India population space, wanted to address this so that we realize that there is technology. The cloud has removed the wires that you need to have, number of wires you need to have to connect to a server. The penetration of internet is there. The devices with Wi-Fi ability is there. And you have an ability to capture streaming data. You have an ability to capture and diagnose and, and then transform and run analytics. The power of cloud computing is increasing by the day. You don't get charged by the data you store, but you get charged by the compute. So there are a lot of positive things happening. Now I think it's how we bring this all together in a well orchestrated, well oiled machine for patient care in India. And you may just want to call it National Health Grid, for example, or National Patient Grid, for example. But this probably is the need of the hour for our country. This is all I had, Swati.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm just taking a look if there are some questions around.
Sure.
Are you able to read the comments and questions in the chat room, sir?
I can.
If you have any questions, you can just raise your hands or write it in the chat room.
How can I ensure confidence that inside of data? That's probably not me, right?
Yeah, that was taken. There is somebody who's raised a hand. Fez, can I ask you to take a look and unmute them?
And this is not just for our people. This is also for, medical tourism, for example.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
Sir, you have been talking about telemedicine that is embracing the change. How do you think for such a huge population like India will be able to implement this practically, and how many years it will take for this practical implementation, sir?
So this is anybody's guess, right? See, number one, it's political will, right? If I can use that word. And number two, it's the adaptation, and the sooner the people get their confidence in what has been done and how it has been done. So, I'm sure, like, I'm not a politically motivated guy, but we started having competitions with smart cities. Who is going to be bidding for smart cities? We started having, the cleanest city amongst the Indian cities, so that they get recognized and then they keep winning. So in the same context, I think we can start getting people. This is there. The problem is there. And we can start identifying who will be the front runner, low-hanging fruits in terms of these villages, make a few, model villages and then start implementing. The moment we have, see, again, in life, I always say this one thing: you get one chance to do it right. Right? You do not get chances again and again and again to do it right. So when we go after these low-hanging villages, let's think through that our cogwheels are in place, right? If we have to replicate the model, let's make sure that the operational efficiencies and the processes are identified, so that now you can start replicating, right? So the moment you start replicating this and identifying that, okay, I have all these things together, Now I am going to implement one in South, one in North, one in East, and one in West. Let us see how this goes. What are the learning lessons that we can take? How do we take this up and make our operational processes better? So the moment you have this thing ready, I think the first few lessons are hard to come by, but the replication of a success story will not be hard to come by. So again, I can't give you a timeline because this is, I will delve into a lot of fuzzy areas which I have no control on. But the fact of the matter is that this is doable. You should have it in our mind that this is doable and it will add value to our people.
One last question I'll take.
Thank you, sir.
Rajesh, thank you very much, Ms. Sudha. One more question I'll take, sir, from Mr. Rajesh. He says, right now we have unstructured and unconnected health data. Where to start and what steps to be taken?
Well, let's start with making unstructured structured, which is your prescription, right? There are a lot of these tablets and the iPad has these. iPad is not doable, right? I mean, it's very costly. I cannot replicate that model and take it to villages. But the speech to text, there is a lot of these things happening. As and when the doctors are speaking, we are eliminating the need to write a prescription, because the moment I start speaking, I can capture and print it. When I say capture, it's going to persist, right? It's going to sit in some data. So the unstructured is gone. It's all going to be structured, right? Which is what the doctor is conversing with the patient, and it is sitting digitally in the database, which is accessible to the patient the moment he falls on the road, like for example, Satya on the road somewhere, and it is accessible with my digital token. We can start with prescription.
Okay. On that note, I thank you very much, sir. And I'll hand it over to Alok, sir, to give the vote of thanks for today and any conclusion remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. Hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to one and all. Respected Dr. Neeta Verma, Rama Devi ma'am, Shri Satya Srinivas, Shri Satyanarayan Meena, and dear participants, and august gathering of ladies and gentlemen. I feel privileged to present the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. At the outset, I would like to thank Honorable Keynote Speaker Dr. Neeta Verma, who graced the occasion with her presence and addressed the august gathering with very insightful and inspiring keynote. We are extremely grateful to you, ma'am, for sparing your valuable time and sharing your rich experience on the topic, using data for effective policy making and sharing insights on national API exchange platform and shared initiatives like Prayas, wherein sharing data in process in real time for 145 flagship programs of government with their key performance indicators, and also shared the prevailing needs of digital readiness and to revitalize the digital economy across the board. I must express our deep sense of appreciation to Rama Devi ma'am and Mr. Satya Srinivas for their very informative and thought-provoking presentations and shared insights of best practices in form of AI-based use cases in agriculture and cotton crop and related best practices. Thank you, ma'am. And data to actionable insights shared by Shri Satya Srinivas regarding patient care and telemedicine and use of AI in addressing the present challenges in healthcare and support via IoT. Thank you, sir. We convey our thanks to Mr. Karan for interesting quiz exercises on Kahoot. On behalf of National E-Governance Division, I feel privileged to extend my heartfelt thanks to entire team of UNDP and Intel for putting up dedicated efforts for making the event successful. As you know, that this is the 9th workshop in the series, and I would like to express sincere gratitude to Ms. Shweta Khurana, Ms. Swati Seni, Mr. Vikram, and entire Intel team for their constant support. A special thanks and gratitude to our President and CEO, Sir Shri Abhishek Singh, for his continued guidance and support for making this program so enriching and successful. I would also like to thank all the team members from NEGD, our Director, Shri Satyamina Sir, my colleagues, Puneet Kaur, Anita, Parul, Banali Ma'am, Mr. Jay Rohila, and entire ANC team, and Mr. Shilohu, Mr. Faiz, and LMS team for their tireless effort and continued support to make this event successful. Last but not the least, special thanks to our audience for showing keen interest in Digital India Dialogues and their active participation during the program. And congratulations to the winners of the quiz. And as you know, that Digital India Dialogue is one such platform where contributors and takers create a fruitful association. DID integrates the resources and connects the dots and tries to bring in the right mix of experts, content, and audience in the context of capacity building for all the stakeholders. And I would like to take this opportunity to request all of you to please keep on visiting our NEGD website, www.negd.gov.in, for various updates for DID and all other capacity building programs being offered by NEGD that you might be interested in. Thank you all. With a request to participants, please share your valuable feedback and inputs to the feedback link shared a few minutes on the chat section. And a big thank you to all of you. Thank you. Over to you, Swati.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we can close the session. Thanks a lot.